Terence Crawford versus Shawn Porter fight generated 135,000 pay-per-view buys, according to Ring TV. We gonna talk about it. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Listen, I don't know how you found my video, but somehow, some way you made it. You arrived at the content. Please help others find the content by throwing a like on the video. It's simple, it's quick, it's painless, it's free. Please help others find the content. Reach one, teach one. Throw a like in the comment. Now, link in the description. Crawford-Porter garners 135,000 pay-per-view buys. The Ring magazine has learned through multiple reliable sources last Saturday's WBO title fight, Terence Crawford-Shawn Porter, garnered 135,000 pay-per-view buys on ESPN pay-per-view through ESPN Plus. Crawford, 34, defended the WBO title for the 5th time in an exciting clash, stopping Shawn Porter for the first time in his career before a sold-out crowd of 11,568 at the Michelob Ultra Arena in Mandalay Bay. Quote, "I feel like there were a lot of opportunities left on the table," Crawford told Porter Tuesday night on the Welterweight podcast. "You know what I mean? Not only with the fighters, but also with the pay-per-view. Like, for instance, me and Shawn Porter fought on an app. There were so many people that was telling me that they don't know how to get the app on the TV. They don't know how to do it. And, you know, the average elderly person that doesn't, know tech, they're not going to know how to get the app on the TV. So what do? They don't buy it. So I feel like, there was a setup in its own right then and there." So that's what Terence Crawford had to say on the Welterweight podcast, right? 135, the article says, pay-per-view figure missed the estimated break-even mark of 150,000 pay-per-view buys. It also speaks of Crawford's marketability as a pay-per-view attraction. Canelo versus Caleb Plant did 800,000 pay-per-views, and then Porter retired. Now, to be honest, I got a couple things to say. Now, ironically, the great Ego Stradamus strikes again. Previously, Yahoo Sports had a reporter that reported that the numbers were 190,000, right? And the thing is, I have an affiliate with Disney, and although I did well personally, I told you guys in tweet, and I'll quote it, "I don't really believe those Crawford-Porter pay-per-view numbers, seeing how only one person reported them, laughing my off. It was a good fight though, but why lie?" I tweeted this at 3:10 a.m., right? So 3 in the morning, I tweeted this. Mysteriously, several hours later, Ring TV and others are reporting these new numbers and saying that the previous reported number from Yahoo Sports pretty much is way off, because 190,000 versus 130,000. These are completely different numbers, right? Because you have to look at it. The fight, I bought the fight for record keeping, But it doesn't make sense if we're gonna say, hey, it did 195,000 and it really did 135,000. That's a difference of 55,000, almost 60,000 pay-per-views. And again, I personally bought it, but the deal was about $75 or whatever it was. So we're talking about upwards of $4 million in discrepancy with the difference of numbers. Like if you say it did 190,000 and it really did 135,000, we're talking about, this is a large sum of money because it was almost $80 a pop, right? So we're talking about like $4,100 or whatever less by doing 135. What does this mean? In terms of my opinion, I think it means what we already knew, that Errol Spence he's big fish, and he's the A side in the equation of Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. This is no mystery. They have a mutual opponent. Errol Spence clearly fought the fresher version of Shawn Porter, seeing how Shawn Porter later came out and said he knew he was retiring, win, lose, or draw, and he considered retiring after the Errol Spence loss, right? and he said he was thinking about it then. So that means retirement was on his mind, which was unbeknownst to all of us, except for people in his close circle. And speaking of that, this has been corroborated by his close friend that does the podcast. He says, anybody that knows me knows I wanted Porter to retire. So it really sounds like Porter lost some of his hunger. Needless to say, that's not Crawford's fault. Crawford can't control the hunger level of his opponent. All he could do is do what he did, show up, and he became the first person to stop Shawn Porter. So he gets props for that. But it just, to me, it hurts the outcome a bit because people were confused by Kenny Porter, the decision to stop the fight, and then to come and find out that Shawn Porter was retiring no matter what. It does hurt the fight because people going into the fight had no knowledge of this. Like if Shawn Porter would have said this, the numbers would have been probably worse. If Shawn Porter would have said, hey, this is my last fight, I'm retiring, because people wouldn't know what to expect. But people were using this fight as a barometer to the Errol Spence and Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, and Kell Brook past fights. But now it's not really safe to do that, considering the fact of where Shawn Porter's head was in the pandemic and, if he's on retirement mode. That's just what it is. As far as the numbers, he did under what Errol Spence did. This is men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Errol Spence did over 300,000 and he sold the Staples Center out and it was 16,000 and change. Terence Crawford's 34 and he sold 11.5 in that particular arena, and he did less pay-per-view buys. So that ends the debate. I know old media and certain people are going to try to make it look like, oh, but Crawford stopped Shawn Porter, so he deserves equal money. But I don't think that's the case, knowing what we know about Shawn Porter. Knew this was his last heist or last hurrah or whatever, and he was riding off into the sunset. So a little bit confusing. And see, the thing is, some people are going to get mad. Like a lot of the radical Crawford fans are going to get mad. Like, oh, why are you saying this? But everything I'm saying is true. At the end of the day, to prove it's true, Terence Crawford was a guest on Shawn Porter's podcast, and he says this could have been promoted better. So he's basically telling you what I've been telling you, so you're hearing it from the horse's mouth. He said they put it on the app only, right? And elderly people or people who aren't familiar with tech didn't know how to order my fight. So regardless of that, these are the numbers. Now, I find it weird that there's people in the boxing media, and it's not weird, I know why they do it, but people in the boxing media, you have certain media shills, and they're pretty much in cahoots. I don't know if someone's greasing each other's palms or comping rooms or just have a good relationship with the person, but certain people are putting out certain numbers to try to make it look better and to make it look like more of a success, and then come to find out the numbers were lower than those previous numbers. So I think that's a bad look for the sport, because you have Yahoo Sports. They don't even really talk about boxing frequently anymore. Maybe at one point they did, but they're the only ones came out with this number. No one else knew about these numbers. I questioned the numbers, and then now Ring TV is supposed to be the Bible of boxing, and they said they have talked to trusted and reliable sources, and they're saying the numbers are 135. So despite winning by knockout, I don't know if this puts Crawford more so in the driver's seat as he was probably hoping with a good performance, because Crawford did his thing. But at the end of the day, boxing is a business, and now I see the Errol Spence Crawford fight still as being problematic to make, because Crawford is very headstrong and Crawford does things how he wants to do them. And he's going to probably be in the mindset of, hey, I'm a free agent. I'm working with Daniel Kinahan or whatever he's deciding to do, and I want this particular cut. I stopped Shawn Porter. You couldn't stop him. But his numbers don't justify that the same. You know what I mean? And you could say whatever you want, but men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Errol Spence fought Shawn Porter, who arguably is fresher. I think that's really fair to say. He fought a hungrier Shawn Porter and did better numbers and had a higher attendance, and it was promoted better. And the one thing I will say in closing is it's very weird how Top Rank and ESPN have treated Terence Crawford. Such a phenomenal talent, such a a mean fighter and a spirited fighter and competitive fighter, sharp fighter. And like I've been telling you for quite some time, they just haven't really seemed that vested in to promoting Terence Crawford. And I really don't know behind the scenes why that's the case. But this hurts Terence Crawford because he's looking to probably increase at age 34, increase his leverage. And he said it was a setup. He said he was set up and they didn't really promote the fight from what I seen. And then he's left with these numbers. So basically every single time Terence Crawford has been on pay-per-view, this is the greatest numbers he's done, 135,000, and everything else has been less than that. Or actually, these might even be less than the reported Amir Khan numbers. I don't remember what Amir Khan was, but they said Postal did like 90,000, etc. So great win. He picked up a great win. But in terms of the driver's seat in the business side of it, I think Crawford's demands are going to be similar to how they've been, especially since he feels like, hey, I fought a guy y'all wanted me to fight and I stopped him. No, none of these other guys fought him. But then that's only one aspect of the business. The other part is you don't have more belts than Errol Spence. You're not doing the numbers Errol Spence has done. And your previous company up until this last weekend did not invest into you. And Bob Arum just did an interview with Barbershop and he said it again. He reaffirmed it. He says, I've lost money on every single Crawford fight. So I don't know why the game is so negative towards Terence Crawford, but the whole situation, this is why people question why Terence Crawford would re-sign instead of weighing his options years ago when he signed the extension, because it doesn't look like those years have acquitted him well, because Terence Crawford could have been in the mix fighting Shawn Porter back then when Errol Spence was fighting him, fighting Ugas, fighting Errol Spence, and maybe even Pacquiao, because Pacquiao eventually came over to PBC and he stayed with Top Rank, and timing is everything. Now he stayed with Top Rank so long, they got their service out of him, and they've also said damaging things to his brand and haven't really promoted him. Like for Top Rank and ESPN, they really rolled out the red carpet for Lomachenko. Every time they do like blood, sweat, and tears. And they always talk, like commentary is always favorable. When you talk about Crawford, they're saying like, oh, Crawford, he needs to fight a better name, or he needs to show more of his personality. And then on top of that, you got the promoter at the time, Bob Arum, throwing him under the bus saying I could have bought a house in Malibu or Beverly Hills with the amount I'm losing. And he keeps double downing. So it's almost like a pimp in a relationship. And the pimp he knows his girl is leaving. So he's trying to damage his girl's reputation because she's about to link up with somebody else. So it's like Bob Arum and Top Rank, they're saying as much hurtful things and didn't really promote him on the way out that crazy to the point where it produced these numbers. And then this is the leverage that Terence Crawford enters free agency with, versus you look at other sports like, let's say Tom Brady or LeBron James, they have a lot of leverage when they entered free agency. So many teams want LeBron James or Tom Brady. Terence Crawford, I'm sure he would be an asset to anybody's promotion, but his leverage based on the business stuff is not what you would call the highest, despite the win, based on how it all played out with Kenny Porter stopping it and people kind of being mad at the stoppage, and then these numbers being produced. Let me know how I did in this video, and I'm out. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.